Okay, so Elon Musk, right? Sending rockets up, building self-driving cars, even wants to link our brains to computers. Wild.
It is pretty mind-blowing stuff.
So what's his philosophy? What drives a guy like that? That's what we're looking at today, digging into all the articles and research you sent about Elon Musk's thinking.
Yeah, it's like, how does he approach these huge problems? And what can we maybe learn from him?
Exactly. And it's not just the tech itself, it's how he even thinks about solving problems, like this whole first principles thinking thing.
Right. You hear that a lot with Musk.
So what's the deal with that?
Well, it's about getting to the core,
Yeah.
like not just accepting things the way they are.
Instead of saying, oh, electric car batteries are always going to be super expensive.
Exactly. Musk asks, okay, what's a battery made of? How can we do that better, cheaper?
So he's not afraid to kind of break things down to the basics.
Yeah, like a physicist almost.
Yeah.
And then build back up from there. With SpaceX, rockets were ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, you just assume that's how it is. Space travel, crazy costs.
Musk, he dug deeper. He said, hang on, the raw materials themselves aren't the problem.
It's the what? The process?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Inefficient manufacturing, relying on all these outside suppliers, that's what inflates the cost.
So instead of playing by the rules, he decided to make his own rules.
Pretty much. SpaceX started building their own rocket parts in-house, what they call vertical integration.
So they controlled the whole process, which means...
Massive cost savings. They can launch rockets way cheaper than anyone else now.
So takeaway for us regular folks.
Next time you've got a problem, anything, try thinking like Musk. Don't just accept that's how it's always been done.
Break it down, huh?
Yep, get to the core of it. You might surprise yourself with what you come up with.
Okay, so first principles thinking. Got it. But then there's the fact that this guy sets some seriously ambitious goals. I mean, colonizing Mars.
Right, he's not aiming small.
It's not even just Mars. Tesla, Neuralink, that boring company thing.
It's like he's tackling all these existential problems at once.
Existential problems meaning?
Things that could wipe us out, Climate change, running out of resources, AI going rogue.
Heavy stuff.
Musk is trying to use technology to solve those big picture problems.
He's thinking long term, not just next quarter's profits. It's like he's playing chess, but on a cosmic scale.
And that leads us to another key part of his approach. Being okay with risk and even failure.
Didn't he say something like, failure is an option?
Yeah, he's got this famous quote, if things are not failing, you are not innovating enough.
So he almost expects to fail along the way.
He sees those failures as opportunities to learn, to get better.
Think about those early SpaceX launches, right? Like rockets blowing up.
Most people would have given up, but Musk, he kept going. Each failure was just data,
Yeah, it takes guts to keep going when things are literally exploding around you.
And that brings us to his work ethic. This guy's notorious for working crazy hours, expecting the same from everyone around him.
Well, we're not saying everyone needs to pull all-nighters, but...
It's about that level of passion and dedication. You got to believe in what you're doing.
But it's not just about hard work, right? Musk also seems to really understand what people actually want.
He gets that it's not just about solving the problem. It's got to be something people want to use to buy into.
Like with Tesla, they're not just eco-friendly cars. They're cool. They're high-tech. They look amazing.
Exactly. And even Neuralink, right? This brain-computer interface thing.
Sounds like sci-fi stuff.
It is, but they're focusing on ways it can help people, like restoring movement for people with paralysis.
So it's about solving problems, yeah, but also making a difference in people's lives.
Which brings us to the last thing for today, systems thinking. This one's a bit more,
Complicated?
maybe. Think of it like this. Musk doesn't just focus on one piece at a time. He sees the whole picture.
Like he's playing 3D chess while everyone else is doing checkers.
Perfect analogy. He's thinking several steps ahead.
Yeah.
Look at Tesla's gigafactories. It's not just about making batteries.
There's more to it.
They control every step. Raw materials, manufacturing, even recycling those batteries.
So it's a whole ecosystem, not just a factory.
Exactly. Same with SpaceX and their reusable rockets. It's about changing the entire launch system, not just building a better rocket.
So systems thinking, it's about
seeing the big picture, how everything connects, and making choices that benefit the whole system, not just one part.
Okay, so that's a lot to think about. We've got first principles thinking, shooting for the moon, literally being okay with risk, understanding your customer, and this whole systems thinking thing.
And that's just scratching the surface.
So what does it all mean for us normal folks who aren't, building spaceships? We'll figure that out in the next part of our dive.
Welcome back. We've been digging into how Elon Musk thinks, right? How he tackles these huge problems.
Yeah, a lot of big ideas in part one, first principles thinking, setting these massive goals, not being afraid to fail.
Systems thinking, too.
Right, systems thinking. But okay, how do we actually use these ideas? In our regular lives, I mean.
Because, let's be real, most of us aren't launching rocket ships anytime soon.
Exactly. So first principles thinking, for example. It sounds kind of intimidating, right?
It's actually not that complex. Just remember, you're stripping away all those assumptions, getting down to the core truth of something.
So, like, instead of assuming to get fit, I got to spend hours at the gym.
You ask why? What am I actually trying to achieve? Move my body, challenge my muscles.
Okay.
Maybe that leads you to try shorter but tougher workouts. Or maybe you realize just moving more throughout the day, IS enough. It's about being open to new ways of doing things.
So first principles thinking, it's like being a problem-solving ninja.
I like that. But okay, what about those huge EE goals? Like Musk wants to colonize Mars? Most of us aren't thinking that big.
Yeah, I'm not packing my bags for Mars just yet.
Huh, fair enough.
Yeah.
But you can still apply that principle. Find goals that truly excite you, that give you purpose.
Instead of, I want to be rich, it's what kind of impact do I want to make?
Exactly. Write a book, start that business you've been dreaming of, even just being a better parent, friend. Find what truly motivates you.
Okay, so first principles, big goals, but then there's that whole risk-taking, being okay with failure thing. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck.
It's definitely tough. We're taught to play it safe, avoid failure at all costs. Musk flips that on its head.
He's like the daredevil of entrepreneurship.
Something like that. Remember, he sees failure as data. It's not the end. It's a chance to learn, to adjust, to iterate.
So how do we actually get over that fear, you know? It's one thing to say embrace risk.
One way is to reframe how we think about failure. It's not a personal defeat, it's feedback. It helps you improve.
Turn those oops moments into aha moments.
Exactly. Everyone who's achieved anything big has messed up along the way. It's part of the process.
You pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going.
Right. Now let's talk about being customer-centric. Sounds simple, right? Give people what they want.
But there's got to be more to it than that.
There is. It's not just needs. It's about creating an experience. Like those Tesla cars, they're not just functional.
They're stylish, high-tech.
They make a statement. It's about understanding your audience deeply and giving them something that truly resonates.
So whether it's a product, a service, even just how you interact with people.
Put yourself in their shoes. How can I make this better? Add value. Make a real difference.
Okay, and then there's systems thinking. This is the one I'm still kind of wrapping my head around.
It's about understanding the systems you're part of. Your family, your work, your daily routine. Everything's connected.
So like if I keep hitting snooze in the morning.
That throws off your whole day. Maybe even impacts your mood at work.
Oh yeah, been there.
See? It's about recognizing those links and making choices that benefit the whole ecosystem, not just one little part.
So you zoom out, look at the bigger picture.
Exactly. Now, last thing, that intense work ethic. We can't all work 80-hour weeks, so what's the lesson here?
Right, gotta have a life too.
It's about finding what you're passionate about and then putting in the effort to make it happen.
Not just working hard, but working smart.
And being dedicated, holding yourself to a high standard, but also knowing when to take a break, recharge, come back fresh.
That's important. Okay, so we've got all these principles, but there's that one thing that keeps coming up with Musk.
What's that?
His focus on these huge existential problems.
Right. Like climate change, AI, safety, those massive challenges.
And it kind of makes you think, how can WE contribute to solving that stuff? It can feel so overwhelming.
You don't have to single-handedly solve climate change, but you can support organizations working on it, make more sustainable choices.
Even just talking about it, raising awareness.
Exactly. We're all connected. Even small actions add up. And that's really at the heart of Musk's philosophy. A belief that we can solve these problems.
It's about daring to dream big, taking action, learning from our mistakes.
And never stopping pushing the limits of what's possible.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground. Musk's principles, how he uses them, even how WE can apply them, inspiring stuff, but also a bit much to take in all at once.
It is a lot. So as we wrap up this part, here's a question for you to think about. If you could pick just one of Musk's principles to apply to something you're working on right now, what would it be and why?
Back again. We've really been dissecting this whole Elon Musk thing, right? His philosophy, all that.
Yeah, from that first principles thinking to how much he pushes himself and everyone around him.
But it goes beyond just, Tesla and SpaceX, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's bigger than any one company or technology.
He sparked this whole conversation about innovation, about what humans can actually achieve if we set our minds to it.
He's kind of shown that, like, impossible is just a starting point if you have the right vision.
And the willpower, too. It's interesting, though, right? He's such a polarizing figure.
Yeah, for sure. You either think he's a genius or...
Well, or you have some strong opinions about his personality, maybe.
True. But you can't deny the impact he's having. He's shaking things up, making people think differently.
Whether you love him or hate him, he's a catalyst, that's for sure.
And he proves that if you've got a bold idea and you're willing to put in the work, crazy things can happen.
So what if, and this is a big what if, but what if we all tried to think a little more like Musk? Just a little.
What if we actually questioned those assumptions? The things we take for granted.
Dreamt bigger, took more risks, and really committed to goals that mattered.
It's definitely a challenge, but it's also pretty exciting to think about. Like, what could you do with that kind of mindset?
We've talked about how Musk focuses on these existential threats, the things that could really wipe us out.
Climate change, AI getting out of control.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff. It can feel kind of paralyzing to even think about.
But instead of getting stuck in that fear, Musk says, okay, let's do something.
And that's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about some billionaire escaping to Mars, right?
It's about each of us figuring out how we can make things better, even in small ways.
Supporting the right causes, being more mindful of our choices.
Even just starting those conversations, making other people aware.
It's realizing that this is on all of us and that every little bit counts.
That's really what ties this whole thing together. A belief that humans can solve these problems.
If we have the courage to try. So that wraps up our deep dive into Elon Musk, his philosophy, his companies, all of it.
We've thrown a lot of information at you. Hopefully it's been thought-provoking, maybe even inspiring.
And maybe a little challenging too. But the takeaway is, keep questioning, keep dreaming, and keep pushing those boundaries. You never know what's possible.